He built New Zealand's biggest mortgage company and conquered real estate.
I set up 62 franchises across New Zealand.
And became one of the most recognisable business figures in New Zealand.
He didn't set out to become Mike Pero Mortgages.
Quite the opposite.
But what was it really like behind the scenes on The Apprentice?
I was actually, with due respect, controlled. The number of times I said, "You're fired," they'd filmed that 30 times.
And what was the family shock that forced him to confront his own health?
It's not reversible.
And we discuss his incredible new passion project for the city.
For me, it's a gift back to the city of Christchurch. It will be a tourist attraction.
Let's meet for coffee with Mike Pero, proudly brought to you by Black White Coffee Cartel, serving delicious cooked food that leaves you feeling full and happy. And don't forget to try their amazing selection of delicious cabinet food. Great food, great coffee.
Mike Pero, welcome to Black and White Coffee Cartel. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Let's just briefly touch on the beginnings. You were a racer before the mortgage sector took over your life, weren't you?
It seems like another chapter. Yeah, when I was a teenager, it started. Yeah, my obsession for motorcycle racing.
When did you decide that's obviously not going to be a career for you?
I started to grow up. No, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, it was the early 80s. Well, I started racing motorcycles when I was 16, and I just seemed to be a natural rider. And then I got into the National Championship Series. I won one championship, then a second one, and then I progressed through the different classes and into Grand Prix machines back in the early 80s. And I won another 4 championships in the 80s. I was already working all the way through, so I left school, I was a motorbike mechanic. After doing a 4-year apprenticeship, I set up my own business with a friend. So we had a Yamaha dealership out at Hornby, where Mitre 10 are now, and that was all good. So that worked at the same time that I was racing motorcycles. So it was all, I was, supplied machines by Yamaha New Zealand. Everything went well, and then I thought, maybe I can earn more money elsewhere. So I did my time at Woolworths as a trainee manager, and that was back in the days of Woolworths Variety. Had a great time there, learned a bit, and then thought, okay, now I want to be a rep. So next level, so I wanted to be a sales rep. So I ended up working for Hansel's, essences and jungle juice and all that stuff. I did that for a year, and then a friend came along and said, "Do you want to be an insurance agent?" And I said, "Well, don't know about that." But it turned out that he told me how much I could earn, and he said, "You'd double your income." And I was on a good income at Hansel's, and he was wrong. I didn't double my income, I tripled my income. And back in the 80s, here I was selling life insurance, earning $150,000, $160,000 a year back then. I mean, that was when you could buy houses for $30,000 to $50,000. So it was far more than the Prime Minister at the time. So just things just progressed, and naturally, and I was earning all this money. And then in the mid-80s, I thought, because I was only 25, 26, and my first goal was to get a gold American Express card, and you had to earn $30,000, you had to be 30 years of age, and you had to have $30,000 worth of assets. So I was underage. B, I had more assets, and C, I was earning more income. So they said, "Yep, you're accepted based on what you've got," because I'd done well. I had 2 houses by the time I was in my mid-20s, and life was good, making lots of money. And then I thought, maybe I could be a pilot. And leaving Shirley Boys High with only school cert, that meant a lot more study. And I wasn't sure if I was up for it, because I wasn't when I was at school. I just wanted to get out of school. And here was me thinking I was going to learn physics and maths and all that sort of stuff. And I did. I put myself through my private pilot's license, my commercial pilots, and then airline, and ended up working for Mount Cook Airline, and did all my subjects, everything, right through to my what's called ATPL subjects, which is pretty much airline. Well, I was flying airline. I was flying out of Auckland in the small aircraft, provincial centres. And then one thing led to another. And yes, I wanted to be on the 747s. My goal was 747, second officer, 1990, but there was a big dispute between Air New Zealand and the Airline Pilots Association. And long story short, the first two 747s went to Cathay Pacific in 1990. A lot of guys lost their jobs. I kept my job, but there was going to be no progression for the next 5 years. And so I decided time to move on. And that's what led me to come back to Christchurch and set up the mortgage business.
When you look back though, do you have any regrets about that moment in time where your life could have gone in a completely opposite direction now?
All the way through, choices, decisions, some were good, some were bad, and that's life. Every day I'm confronted with decisions, and one thing I learned as a pilot, when you're travelling anywhere between 3 and 6 miles a minute, you've got to make decisions, and they're called command decisions, and every pilot listening to this will know what I'm talking about. You have to make decisions and can continually evaluate what you've done, look at trends, and I see that with life too. I see that all the way, every day, you're making decisions, you're choosing what you eat, what you drink, where you go, who you talk to, and sometimes you get it wrong. You can make mistakes and you'll regret them, you'll learn and move on. Fortunately, I didn't do anything disastrous, but I look back and I think, could have done that better, I shouldn't have done that. I could have done that, but I've had some wins over the last...
I think you've had some many wins, Mike, just quietly, because Mike Pero Mortgages and some of those early ads from the early 90s are just... They're almost legendary in their own right, because I was thinking, who else in New Zealand has created a brand sort of, in a way, inadvertently based on their One South? It's probably you, Michael Hill Jeweller, and then I was going to put in there Tammy Wells from Briscoe's, but it's not really the Tammy Wells department store, is it? But it's kind of the same vibe. What I know from you is that your brand, you didn't set out to become Mike Pero Mortgages.
Quite the opposite, Chris, and what you said, those names, Michael Hill, Ben Rumble, do you remember?
Ben Rumble. I'm moving from Churm Street to Morehouse Ave, the biggest communication showroom in New Zealand.
What do you sell?
Cell phones.
From the past?
Ethel McCulley.
Oh, your garden hoses, was it?
Yeah, with garden, with nurseries.
Wow.
And, so they were all part of the Ryman Corporation. John Ryder was behind all that, and he set up, he was also a director of Michael Hill, and so there was a common theme, the personalities. So I watched all those and I thought, wow, and I actually went, I spoke to him about the possibility of joining the group, because there was others too, and I thought, what are they doing? They're building credibility in a person, and when I first started my mortgage business, I thought, I need a personality. I don't want it to be Mike Pero. So I remembered Sale of the Century and Steve Parr.
Steve Parr! Thank you, John. Thank you for joining us on Tuesday night.
And some of the older viewers will remember Steve Parr, Sale of the Century. Well, he was a personality, and I wanted him to be the front person for them. But then the cost to do that was just too much. And then I thought, okay, Rickerton Mortgage Services I set up initially. And then I went to Harcourts. I worked with Steve Collins, Paul Wright, and we came up with Harcourts Mortgage Services, and that was great. But then a lot of the Harcourts agents said, it would be better if you were independent. It seems like Harcourts Mortgages, Harcourts Real Estate, selling Harcourts Valuations, and then Harcourts Finance. It was all just too clicky. So call it something separate and we'll refer more business. So I think Harcourts and for the opportunity, and everything changed overnight. So I thought, oh well, Mike Pero Mortgages, I guess that's got a ring to it. Well, soon after, Dean Smith from More FM came up with a jingle, Mike Pero Mortgages.
That was on my list of questions. Who the hell came up? Because they're a genius. Is he still? Is he on a retainer? Does he get residual payments?
Don't let that get out. No, Dean's raised that a couple of times, but no, I paid him cash. It was like $300.
Actually, do you remember? I asked this the other day to somebody else, and I didn't know, but I bet you do. There was another company that had, and that was a family, and the ads were really cheesy, and it ended with, we're all Watkinsons here.
Yes.
What was that?
That was a carpet business.
That's right.
We're all Watkinses here.
It's a family business.
And they had like a cheesy teeth thing at the end. Remember, a sparkle?
I think you're thinking of Ben Rumble. Your memory is Ben Rumble had that
did he?
in his teeth, but they just ended over a Watkins here.
And it was very, are they still, I wonder if they're still around.
Don't know, who knows, but I like the style. Ben Rumble had, he gave me the ideas, and there were other people also, and I took it all in, and I thought, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Because it's your name on the marquee.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew every mortgage that went out the door, and later on that came through. It was the same theory with real estate. You've got to be trusted and you've got to be honest. And I put my phone number on I had email every single client right through to the end of real estate. My phone number, any problems, give me a bell. And funny thing is, I'd only get 5 or 6 a month that would call me and say, look, we're just not sure about this or that. And because I would write to them the minute our agent made contact, before they'd even had an opportunity to list their property, I'd say, hey, Chris and so, just understand you're meeting with Alistair later this week. Can I just reassure you that we believe we can do this for you? I know your home's at 123 High Street. And you're in good hands. And so I'd make that contact way before even the agent got there, and it was all part of our system. So just looking after people. I mean,
do you look back now and think that actually, even for you personally, having your name on the marquee, so to speak, was actually a good thing in the end, because it keeps you really honest, because it's your name.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a position to stuff up.
100%. And I have had to live with that all the way through from the day that I made the decision to use my name in 1991, I think it was. Okay, here we go. This, I felt uncomfortable at first, but then I get used to, and I get that all the time, people pointing me out, or whether it's an airport, typically airports, people, you're Mike Pero, thanks for reminding me.
Do they sing you a jingle? They would, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, I get that all the time. But I don't mind, and I must say, Kiwis are really kind. I've never had anyone come after me or throttle me.
You don't own Mike Pero Mortgages anymore, do you?
No, I sold that. Believe it or not, that was sold in 2004, over 20 years ago.
I thought so. Did you ever get nervous at the prospect that somebody else, in a way, owned your name?
Yeah.
And therefore you think, shit, I hope they represent me well. I mean, that's such a commercial risk, isn't it?
It is, but money solves a lot of problems. I'm prepared to take the risk. I was fortunate to build up a business. It took 15 years, I think, in round figures, to build the business from nothing to many millions of dollars back then. I could have retired at 45, I should have. But then I would have got bored, and I did, so that's why I carried on doing other things. But that amount of money is, you could say, in 2004, you could say it's doubled. So, yeah, it was tens of millions back then, and we had a lot of fun. I enjoyed working with George Gould on the way through, another local. Interesting ways of thinking, which grew the business very quickly over a short period of time. So we went to the public, IPO, and we were on the New Zealand Stock Exchange. It was after that things got different, and the business, well after I'd left, it was owned by an Australian company. And I can't say too much more about that, other than that, it was managed differently, and not my style, but their style, and a lot of...
The real estate company?
Yes.
That still exists, right?
Well, yes and no. It does. The agents there, good agents across the country. We had the best agents, I believe. We had the best business model, but it was only in the last couple of years that's changed from Mike Pero Real Estate. That was sold again from the Australian owner that owns mortgages, sold you could call it the rolling stock of the business to Rain and Horn.
That's right.
Which is a big brand in Australia. The problem Rain and Horn have got is they're still establishing their brand in New Zealand. So good bunch of agents and a good business model, but the branding ain't there. I mean,
and has that taken the pressure off you personally, because the Mike Pero branding has subsided somewhat? So do you sort of feel almost like a sigh of relief, or not really? Or do you still feel like a sense of, even though you don't own them anymore, a still sense of ownership? It's your babies. You want to make sure they're doing all right.
Yeah. Look, I had mixed views. I sold my shareholding in Mike Pero Real Estate, so I was a 50% shareholder, but I ran 99% of the business. We didn't have a board because my partner was in Australia, significantly wealthy, and just left it all to me to run. And I ran in the years 2011 to 2016. I set up 62 franchises across New Zealand, offices and all sorts, from Invercargill to Kerikeri, big centres being Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. And it was hugely successful. We had revenue streams that were far greater per capita or per branch than the big brands.
What do you think that was? Because of your name, probably?
Well, the marketing worked. I had a marketing style that was unique, and we were doing TV ads. Like, we were the biggest by far on TV for the new commercials that we produced on a monthly basis. Would have been 10 times that of Air New Zealand or the grocery brands. We were just shooting out, we were producing a new commercial every single day of the week. And they were pumping out because we were marketing houses. How did we afford to do that? It was just a mechanism that no one else had ever thought of, and I don't think could understand what we were doing. But I had my own film crew. We had our own everything. We were totally self-sufficient. We could produce TV commercials really cheap. People think I've been hugely successful, but for every Mike Pero, there's probably 100 others under the radar out there doing really good in business. But things have changed, the marketing styles changed, the costs have changed.
I mean, I was looking at an interview I was saying to you before off air, and this was only probably about 5 years ago with somebody, I think, from the Marketing Association, and you were talking about the best advertising that worked for you 5 years ago was television. I hazard a guess now, the market is so fragmented, fewer people are watching 6 p.m. news now because they can watch it online straight away across multiple different channels, alternative, mainstream. It's quite phenomenal how fast advertising, branding and media is changing, right?
Your style and what you're delivering is really interesting compared to, you're a cross, I guess, between news and 7 Sharp, so to speak, I think, and obviously I follow you. It's interesting information about local people and national people, but yeah, gosh, the costs, I mean, the equipment that they used to, as you say, the trucks would pull up, and then the biggest truck tended to be the one that had all the catering and the baristas and the silver and...
You're very right. I want to briefly touch on your time on The Apprentice.
Yes.
What people probably don't realise is the amount of editing and the amount of scripting that goes into a reality series to give it the impression that it's authentic, but is actually not really.
Correct.
When you look back at your time on that, what did you find the most interesting, or what surprised you the most about that television experience?
If I'm honest, which I am, it was very scripted, and it was like an act, and a lot of theatre, a lot of smoke and mirrors. Hey, great people I worked with, the producers right through to the crew were massive, and it was an experience. I felt like I was in Hollywood,
Did you enjoy the experience, or did it become tiresome?
I was actually, with due respect, controlled, and a lot, the number of times I said, "You're fired," and they'd film that 30 times. Okay, no, just bring your finger back, don't point so hard, go there. No, can we shoot that from a different angle? And so honestly, at the end of the day, when I had to make the decision, Chris Lynch...
Actually, you're not fired, I've decided.
You're fired. Yeah. It was interesting, but I was so scripted, I couldn't be myself. That's why I felt it wasn't authentic me, because obviously I don't fire people like that. No. Okay. It's normally I lift the desk up and throw it. But there were so many, but it was an experience, and would I do it again? I probably would, but there was a hell of a lot of money, hell of a lot of effort, and I take my hat off to the TVNZ crew at the time that put it all together. Everyone that I worked with, my colleagues on the other side of with me along the desk there, were a lot of fun. Everything was scripted, and there was an iPad behind the camera, and I was basically reading that, and it was I was told that, right, this person has got to go, and so it was a lot was scripted. I didn't necessarily always agree with the way, but it was channeled, and certain people had to carry on and others had to go. So I won't get into the...
contrived, God.
I wouldn't get into some of the, what's the term, politics or the... there were things done that had to be done because it looked politically correct.
I also want to talk about your health. You had a devastating family experience. I mean, your brother passed away not that long ago, right, of a heart issue.
Yeah, Ian is 2 years younger than me, and he found out he had a heart issue, but it was just a valve, and I've got mixed understandings from various medical people, cardiologists and so on. So I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something he knew about. But they said, look, we must get you in sometime and we'll fix that. It was a congenital thing. And yeah, look, it was a shame, obviously, a big shame. But
how old was he?
He just turned 60.
So young.
Yeah, it was. But he was fit as a fiddle in all other respects. But look, it made me think about, I thought I'd better go and have a heart check and that, and we discovered that I had more calcium in my arteries than you'd want, and that was an understatement. So just to explain the way the cardiovascular system works in layman's terms is, some people say I've got high cholesterol. That basically means that, you're carrying a lot of stuff that you don't, maybe too much LDLs or too much bad stuff in your blood, too much bad stuff that you're eating. It's not the right food. So that eventually builds up and then it forms plaque on the walls of your arteries. And then as you get older, say north of 50, it starts to firm up as calcium, and it's just like building up like carbon on the inside of an engine. So you don't want that because it narrows your blood flow thing, your arteries and so look, as I said earlier, I've got a big heart, so luckily.
Literally.
So my cardiologist said, good thing is your critical arteries going in and out of your heart are actually bigger, but yes, they're restricting. But look,
how do you change that? So
it's not reversible. So look, long story short for the listeners or the viewers, eat properly, just eat the right stuff, because I'm on top of it. I believe I'm on top of it. And I now look at everything and say no to sugar, no to flour, carbs, more protein, fruit, nuts. My breakfast is predominantly nuts and fruit and chia seeds and Greek yogurt and things like that, raspberries. Just eat the right stuff, but unfortunately it doesn't kick in to get a report from your GP saying you're going to have to watch what you're eating. You've got, because bad cholesterol will lead to plaque and will lead on. So, but I was a slow learner. I guess you hear about these things, but you don't think about it until you get to a stage where...
Yeah. It puts life in perspective and you get a bit of a...
Yeah, it takes a scare. Like if you were told that, look, and look, honestly, I know that my chances of having a heart attack or a stroke are many times worse than the average person my age. But I'm doing everything I can. I exercise. I monitor myself, my blood pressure's all good. Everything's good now, but I can't reverse what's happened inside. But I can tell you there are so many New Zealanders that are just in the same position, and randomly you'll hear people die of a heart attack or a stroke. And that's not just by coincidence. You can also assume that because someone is slim and trim that they're all healthy, but on the inside it's quite different. So unfortunately, you don't learn these things, and I'm in my mid-60s and closer to 70 now, but I am just doing all these things to enjoy life, and I really do. I get withdrawal symptoms if I don't go to the gym every second day. Well,
I wish I had that.
But I exercise at home when I'm not at the gym, but I'm very conscious of everything. I do monitor my weight because it gives me an idea and a challenge to... So not only have not only am I, maybe I dropped 7 or 8 kilos or more, maybe more than that, at 10. Over the last 10 years, I've built muscle, and I know I can... F45, which is hard on, hard out exercise.
When you do that?
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
You're still busy. You've got
very
your
busy.
simulator,
Yeah.
which my parents have done, and they absolutely love it. Whereabouts is that?
Okay, that's out
You own
over
that,
here
right?
out by the airport. I set it up with my partners in 2004. We set up Flight Experience and Pacific Simulators. So world-class simulators, absolutely amazing technology, and the credit to the team. And Russell's still there. I call him Geppetto in my own mind, because he could just build anything and make things work and visuals. But it's they're predominantly 737s and Airbus A320s, so Boeing and Airbus.
And it's all the real deal? It's the real
real
stuff.
deal.
So can pilots train it, or is it more for entertainment purposes?
It'll do both, but there's we've got CASA approval, which is from Australia, for a certain training regime for pilots that are going into full motion simulators, whether it be with the Qantas simulators or other Boeing operators like Virgin. So we've got, it's a lead-in device, but 100% realistic, unbelievably convincing that you're flying into Queenstown in a 737. You've got the sounds, the visuals, the switches, the overheads.
So are you saying you can make it say those awful sayings, pull up?
Oh yeah, it does. We're going into Queenstown. If you do a visual approach, you'll get that because you're close to the mountains. But we can also do we can fly what's called IMC in cloud all the way from Christchurch. We can go into cloud at five seconds after takeoff, or take off in fog. Push autopilot and fly to Queenstown and do what's called the RMP approach, which is right down to literally 5 or 6 seconds before you touch the ground. And you'll do exactly like what, say, Air New Zealand would do, or Qantas, or...
Do you ever do it for fun? Or
Yeah, I love it.
So you might go, I might say to your wife, I'm just off now to fly to Queenstown.
Oh, we can go to
darling.
Los Angeles, we can go to Dubai, you can go under the Sydney
You
Harbour
can speed
Bridge.
it up. If you want to do Christchurch to LA, you can just maybe get rid of the middle bits.
We'd want to. But we do, we can just push. But, we've got the detail down to the seat belts, the sheepskins. I mean, if anyone wants to know more, go to jetx.co.nz.
My parents have done it. I got them gifts for it, and they've loved it. So you've got that on the go. You've also got a really exciting venture coming on next year.
It's the Britain Museum. So diagonally opposite the Bridge of Remembrance. So there's Iwakau House, which is owned by Ngāi Tahu, and we've got part of the ground floor next to West Side Stories Cafe. I don't think we could get any closer to the tourist centre of Christchurch. So we can say we're closer than any other museum. But look, we've got a very large museum that's going to be built. So we've got the partitioning, everything's coming together now, and we'll have at least 2 Britain machines on display. But it's a story. It's not just about the motorbikes. It's an amazing story. And John's legacy, more people are talking about John Britton today than they were when he was alive. The respect for this man that died 30 years ago, and what he did 35 years ago is just amazing. He's provided so many people with inspiration, engineers, students, all walks of life. I mean, everything he did was thought out like a Leonardo da Vinci. And just like all the other people along the, whether McLaren or Hamilton Jet, he thought like them, but he had his own style. The machine that he built is still admired as one of the most beautiful pieces of art out there ever.
When does this open?
February the 18th, Wednesday, February the 18th. 2026. It'll be $29.90 for adults. There'll be various discounts and encouraging children to come through schools. We will be able to do conferences and just explain to people through various mediums what he did, how he did it. And, he had dyslexia, call it a problem or call it a gift. But he, like a lot of other super intelligent people, used that to his advantage. So whether, I didn't consider myself smart at school, but I seem to have done okay at business. John was certainly an entrepreneur ahead of his time, and that bike built more than 30 years ago, 35 years ago, started the creation of the V1000, is still admired so much, and it's still very competitive. And now it's just being used for display purposes. They're worth millions of dollars, and if you could find someone that would sell them, well, there are only 10 made in the world, and they're beautiful pieces of art. And I had the privilege of riding one about 3 weeks ago, and I guess worked out, I think more people have probably walked across the moon than actually ridden a Britain machine.
But isn't it nice for you though, Mike, to be able to turn your hobbies and your passion into something else, so it won't feel like work for you?
It doesn't. I'm working 15-hour days at the moment, but I've got a team working with me. We've got a great board of trustees, and so it is a charitable trust, a not-for-profit. So we're not doing it for money. In fact, it's actually cost me money. I'm funding the whole thing as the only donor, and I'm putting the money up. So for me, it's a gift back to the city of Christchurch. It will be a tourist attraction.
And what a great time to be doing it too. It really feels like Christchurch is sort of on the up and up.
It's great timing, and I've got another tourist attraction which I've been running, the Japanese Classic Museum and Motorcycle Museum, and so many people coming in. We have people from all over the world. 60% of the people are not Cantabrians, and that's equally split between domestic and international. So a lot of North Islanders coming through, and they say, Christchurch is such a cool place, and we'd love to move down here. So I think we're kicking ass when it comes to a place to be and a place to live.
Well, I better let you get back to all your work.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mike. Really nice to meet you.
likewise.
I could talk to you for hours, but thank you.
No, pleasure. It's been good.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.